Akwaba, Queen Grandi Nanny I am. The maroon peoples of Jamaica and the world, my clan. From a royal Asante liberty on the Gold Coast, I was snatched to a small Taino island where cruelty and wickedness I watched. To the hills we ran. Our destiny was not linked to chains. Till today, many of our daughters still have them wrapped around their brains. Greetings. Makeda Solomon is my name, and it is my pleasure to be sharing with you, sisters, daughters of Sheba. How more fitting than to be sharing with those that carry my namesake, Queen Makeda of Sheba. Wow, I'm going to endeavor to keep this as real and as in the moment as I possibly can, because I find that in these times, that is the realest place to be sharing from. I was delaying recording this because I was hearing background noises, and then I stopped and I listened very carefully to what those background noises were. Listen. The sound of young future daughters of Sheba playing next door. All right, so as you hear the laughter and the joy of the young girls playing, I'm going to invite you to focus your mind now, because what I'm going to share with you on the topic of independent women is going to ask you to stretch your thinking somewhat on the subject matter. All right, where do I start? As you can tell from my accent, yes, I was born and raised in England. I'm still an African woman. My parents were born and raised in Jamaica. I am still an African woman. But I find myself in this day and age looking back over my existence, first 30 years in England, almost another 30 years here in Jamaica. And I'm reflecting very deeply on what makes me me. And when I put that now in parallel with the topic of independent woman, I'm given to recall the situation back in England some years ago when that particular phrase was coined. And what we witnessed was many of our sisters pulling away from, separating from, segregating from our men folk, our brothers, our kings. Now, I make no apology. I believe in the duality. I believe in the yin and the yang. I believe in nature and all things that bring us into being as the Creator intended. God no make no mistakes. So what I'm sharing is the fact that although we considered independence to be something that was to be attained and to strive for, how it actually looked at the end of the day was not necessarily in the best interests of us as a people, us as women, and most of all, for the children, for our children. Let me explain. We started to see disparities in the early 70s with how we, going into the working world, were being treated as sisters. We were being allowed to flourish and to secure jobs. And what we were noticing by parallel is that the brothers were being treated less fairly. They were being required to suppress their kingliness in order to achieve or attain or to be in certain spheres and places. And as we know, our men folk don't take things very lightly, and take things lying down. So what transpired was a situation where we as the sisters were rising, ascending in the ranks, in the workspace, and our brothers were being sort of stymied, and it created a disparity. And then because the turnaround from that is the fact that, yes, I'm perspiring profusely and I'm still continuing to talk because I'm at that age, all right? So we all, if we know that, we know that. We know someone reach some of no. So yes, excuse me while I daub. I came prepared, all right? I'm telling you, I'm doing this exactly in the moment, you know, right? Everything as it arises. So, yeah, so long story short, in that regard, I consider that this term independent woman was taken a little bit too far by our sisters in the UK. Now, what do we have? What do we observe? Quite a number of single women who are still holding on to that mantle of independent woman. But does independence mean separation, segregation, standing on your own? I would suggest not. So what I'm going to do is invite you to sort of open your minds. Let's clear out all that we've been taught, we've been conditioned to believe about how we are supposed to exist as African women, as black women, all right? And take away some of the, you know, sort of Western ideals around it. Because what I've tried to do is to go back as much as I can, digging and rooting up to say, all right then, in the beginning, as we know, as the original women, the Creator must have had an idea as to how we were supposed to coexist and how dependent we were to be on one another as a species, not just as it relates to male and female. So the way I look at things is that in these times, especially with what's happening globally right now, it's important that we gain an inner dependence, all right? Inner dependence, rather than looking to separate ourselves in terms of dependence from another person or from another place or from another thing, because as we speak of independence, sometimes we liken it to the independence of countries. And in this scenario, I'm currently in Jamaica. How independent is Jamaica? It's a word, but it's the connotation of that word which I want to sort of discuss with you now. We know we are powerful beyond measure when we tap into our full super consciousness as black women, all right? We are spiritual beings. We are the most potent of the spiritual beings. Why do I say that and say it unapologetically and without hesitation? It's because I have seen it witnessed through my mother. I have seen it witnessed through her mother. I've seen how we have gone through what we have gone through, the length and breadth of this globe, and we are still standing and still standing stronger. Our voices are gaining momentum, and we, in my estimations, are what is required to balance out back this chaos that we're finding out there amongst in our lives, in our family lives, in our communities, and extend that out into the world, okay? So, what am I suggesting by this term, inner dependence, okay? I'm saying that we look at our soul selves. Yes, we're human beings. We know that. And we're working very hard at mastering this human beingness. But what about the soul self? We as women, we not only give birth to children, we carry them. We carry them not just in body, but also in soul. Think about that. We embody the souls of our young ones before we deliver them into the earth, onto the planet. All right? So I'm just trying to share those things with you so you get an idea and a feel for how powerful we really are. But we need to regain our power. And that is what I'm speaking of right now. That can only be done by us regaining control of our minds. All right? I hope nobody's offended by me continuing to daub. But as I say, I don't want to stop and say cut and come again because of this. Because this is a part of who I am. All right? Full acceptance without apology. So, what I'm suggesting is we regain our minds. We reprogram our minds as to how we think about ourselves in the context of this world. And regain our power, take back our power. That's what makes us inner dependent, and we have to be able to rely on that inner dependence because that is the part of us where our superpowers lie. All right? I know I'm very dramatic. You know I'm an actress, as Clara no doubt shared with you. But yes, how do we do that? There are numerous ways that I have done it throughout my lifetime. And believe me, there were times when I doubted my power. I doubted how strong I was. But as I gained in age, wisdom, maturity, and going through particular practices of mind management, all right, being able to control the thoughts that come into your mind, just as what you ingest into your physical body, you know. Managing what goes into your mind is as important, if not more important. Okay? So how do we do that? Meditation. I meditate. I do yoga. I have not consumed meat for over 30 years. In fact, probably over 40 years now. I keep saying over 30, over 40 years now. And I'm not saying that is what everyone has to go out there and do, but you have to put things into practice that are going to change the way you perceive the world, and but how you perceive yourself first and foremost is key. All right? So the mindset that you have guides your reality. Me put it in a practice without fail too many times for a guess and spell. No, that's why I'm talking so directly. You know, me just meet most of you, all of you, except Clara. So what I'm saying at the end of the day is that there are ways and means for you to identify with your inner dependent self, your soul self, the element of you which is the creator. All right, the element of you which is connected to the divine source, whatever terms we want to call it in our particular journey and life experience. We're all different, we're all unique, but in that uniqueness, the common thing that we have is the fact that we all have that inner superpower, as I call it when I do workshops with young children. Because yes, I'm telling the young children this, I'm telling the boardroom members this, wherever I'm going, it is part of my mission now to really kind of, energize, to inspire, to motivate, to reignite that passion and power that we carry within us, that when we have it in balance, and have our human self through our minds able to tap into that. You think you're powerful now? Seriously, sisters, if it's one thing I want to get across to you, and I'm hoping that throughout this presentation I'll be sharing other things from my creative works that are basically saying the same thing in different ways, and that's what I'm about now, sharing what I consider to be one of the gems for our re-emergence as the most powerful and awesome women that we are. That is what I think independence should be about. Gaining your inner dependence so that when you step out into the world, you're confident, you stand tall. You still engage in relating and relationships with other human beings. This is not about separation and segregation. That's not the version of independence that I consider to be in our best interests. It's about reconnecting with other human beings, raising our vibrations, making sure we're resonating on a level where we're loving the children, we're nurturing them, we're allowing them to see us shine our lights, so that they too get permission to do the same. All right? And it's by example. It's how we walk. It's how we tread. It's how we live our lives. That they're going to look on at us and say, wow, we can emulate these women. As far as Jamaica is concerned, let me bring it a little closer to where I am now. I think that we need a spiritual revolution led by the women of Jamaica, taking back our children from the grips of whatever is brewing up around and about here. And yes, I know that I'm being rather forceful in how I'm presenting this to you, but that's how I feel. I'm a passionate woman, and I'm feeling that I'm at the stage of my life. My parents are both deceased, that I'm going to go full 100% being me, the authentic me. That's another aspect. Excuse me, dabbing again for those that have just joined. I'm at that age, so I'm going to honor that and dry my perspiration as I go along. So yes, as I said, my parents not around anymore. So it's like years and years growing up of wanting to please them, or not to stand out or shout out or behaving in a particular way, that not that I would necessarily bring shame to them, but now it's like, okay, I've taken on board what their teachings were and I've applied them to my life. I'm now reassessing myself through my own inner standing of who I am and what my journey is, so that I can say, all right, then I'm independently. That's it. Independence comes when you are making decisions for yourself. All right? And you are making them for yourself because you are confident and sure of who you are and what your mission is here on planet Earth. Sisters, it's a crucial time now, which is why I'm again speaking to you in this very sort of, impassioned way, because it's time. It's time for us to take our own lives back. Master your thoughts and you master your life. Whether it's mindfulness, meditation, I do workshops in all the above. That is how I keep myself in balance and in check and happy. I call myself a happiness coach because I'm happy, 99.9% of the time. Not that things don't happen in my life, but it's how you manage your mind so that you are able to circumvent. And we, more than any particular member of the human family, have been through sufficient things that we have ridden through and gone over. We bang with belly and we wheel and we come again. But how about if we take some better care of ourselves now, starting with our minds, so we can get peace of mind, we can be calm and more centered and more able to be our nurturing open self, because we know that whilst we can be those very gentle and nurturing and very soft mothers and lovers, teachers, whatever it is, we can also draw out the nanny of the Maroons, Ya Esantewa, Queen Candice, name them. You know the names of our warrior queens and our ancestors that are currently walking with us in these times. Do not underestimate the power of our ancestry and our hereditary. It runs through our veins.